First three S's are actions. The last two S's are states of being. This is the state of being. So one time I was walking with one of the senior presidents of Mitsubishi across their campus. And as we're walking along on a sidewalk from one building to another, suddenly he's, oh, excuse me. And he runs over to clear over to a little garden about 30 feet away. And picks up a little piece of trash that's going over there, comes running back. I'm so sorry. You know, that was his nature, that there shouldn't be anything out of place. We never walk by a piece of paper on the floor, or we keep things clean, we keep them spotless, because it helps us to see problems. When everything's cluttered in our minds, at our desks, or in our workspaces, we cannot see problems as easily as we can when everything is where it should be, as it should be. So this is a state of being. Well, in summary of this little exercise, 5S is not simply a cleanup program. It's not simply a waste program, but it's a powerful tool for opening the mind and guiding us to review our habits and attitudes towards others, towards the workplace, and towards the environment. So we say lean starts at the top. What does it mean? Starts with self. And how do we learn lean? You have to live it and practice it, to understand it, to really appreciate it. It doesn't come through my talk or anything that you read. So, lean starts at the top. It does not mean that lean is directed, orchestrated, mandated, or driven from the top. It doesn't mean that. It does mean the executive management and leadership must be first to acquire the tacit know-how of lean. And notice I said tacit know-how. Know-how is different than knowledge. Know-how is the ability to take knowledge and apply it and use it. And it comes through doing. Tacit, unspoken. You can't learn it other than by doing. It does mean that management must first undo almost everything they've learned about their current beliefs about management. It's a whole different paradigm, and it's a paragon of business excellence. So how do you learn lean? Study lean. Think lean. Do lean. It's the only way you'll learn it. And it's the only way you'll understand that it applies to you, even when right now it doesn't seem to make any sense at all that it would apply to you. Let me give you another way of thinking about waste. You see, I said this is a principle-driven system. And the principles apply to every function and aspect of the business. They even apply to you personally. So I'm going to go here to this slide. This is a graph you'll often see. You know, another way we define waste is, I think we mentioned earlier, is it value added or non-value added? And we have this third category called non-value added but necessary. You have to be real careful of that category because it's so easy to throw a lot of stuff in there. But a good definition of non-value added but necessary is government reports. There is some of that. You just have to do it, okay? And we have this little ratio that most businesses are about 7% value added. As I went through our production process at O.C.Tanner, we were about 5 and 5.1% value added when we first started. And a little bit of the non-value added stuff, of course. And that's changed, though. It doesn't mean you can't do anything about it. And a lot of waste, a lot of non-value added. So one of the first things we start doing in manufacturing is we start classifying our process, our steps in our process, as being value added or non-value added. That makes sense, doesn't it? But have you ever applied that to yourself as a leader, as a manager, as a leader? What are the things you do that are value added, and what are the things that you do that are non-value added? What do you think the ratio would be? You don't want to say, do you? Afraid it might be your last day? No. I don't get the sense that that's the way it is here, but it's just teasing. Well, it's actually the graph on the left. Those of you who are familiar with lean would probably recognize that the graph that I have here on the left is actually a little bit incorrect. The non-value added is generally around 11% in manufacturing. But in leadership, it's about 23% non-value added but necessary. So this is actually the graph for leadership management. That's kind of shocking. And you have to sit down and look at yourself, and it's very hard to look at yourself by yourself. So get some other folks to help you. And once they get the spirit of it, they'll really help you. Let's take a little closer look. In manufacturing, well, looking at waste, we define waste. You remember these insect classifications that you don't remember from college? Well, in manufacturing, we define waste as being defects, unnecessary transport, overproduction, waiting, overprocessing, unnecessary movement, and inventory. Inventory is considered the greatest sin in the lean world. Doesn't mean that we can't have inventory. It just means we have to be very careful of inventory. It's very expensive to have inventory. When we look at the manufacturing, we say defects are scrap. When we look at services, we say they are errors. In transportation, well, it's unnecessary steps, whether in service or manufacturing. Overproduction, making more than we really need. At O.C.Tanner, our quality was so bad that for every order, we produced 10 to 15% extra just to cover the mistakes so we could still get it out late. So overproduction, making more than you need. In services, that might be doing more than is necessary. Waiting, when people have to wait at the copy machine, when they have to wait for you to finish your work so they can do their work, that's waste, isn't it? Service side is getting, it's reviews and approvals, taking a lot of time, over-processing unnecessary steps, and so on. But what is it in management and leadership?
To see more great content like this one, like and subscribe and hit that little bell.